Slide 11 compares compounding interest to simple interest. The purpose of this example is to show the students how compounding interest can make their money grow much more quickly than simple interest. The first table shows how $100 deposit grows in an account with an annual interest rate of 10% using simple interest. Since the interest in this account does not compound upon itself, a constant $10 is earned each year, leaving a total of $200 at the end of 10 years. However, in the second table, since interest in this account compounds, the interest earned in previous years earns interest in subsequent years. So, for example, at year 4, one would earn 10% on the original $100 investment as well as 10% on the $33.10 of interest accumulated up to that point, increasing the total by $13.30 instead of only $10, which is the amount the account earning simple interest would have increased. At the end of 10 years, the account earning compounded interest has approximately $259.40, compared to $200 for the account earning simple interest, which demonstrates how powerful compounding interest can be. Slide 12 poses the question, what is worth more, $100,000 today or $100,000 1 year from now? Students may answer that the amount is worth the same, worth more now, or worth more in the future. The correct answer is that $100,000 is worth more today than $100,000 1 year from now as a result of the time value of money. This concept demonstrates that a dollar today is worth more than a dollar in the future because it is guaranteed that this dollar can earn interest in a bank account. This example assumes an annual interest rate of 5%, which would imply a future value for the account after 1 year of $105,000. The formula to calculate a future value is shown, with I representing the interest rate and N the number of years. Slide 13 explains that interest is the cost that is paid for borrowing someone else's money. When a person deposits money with a bank, the bank pays them interest for using their money. Similarly, when a person takes out a loan from a bank, they pay the bank interest. The rate at which a borrower pays a lender for money is impacted by the Fed funds rate, which is set by the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve changes this rate to either slow down or speed up growth in the economy. If the Fed raises the Fed funds rate, then the cost of borrowing money will increase, which will make people more likely to save money rather than borrow money. If the Fed lowers rates, the cost of borrowing money will decrease, which will make people more likely to make large purchases that typically involve borrowing money instead of saving money with a bank. Ask the students what they would do if they could control the interest rate in today's economy and why. Slide 14 shows a graph of the prime rate and Fed funds rate since 2005. This chart demonstrates how direct of an impact the Federal Reserve has on the cost of borrowing. The prime rate, which is the rate most consumer loans are based off of, has historically been 3% above the Fed funds rate. Slide 15 introduces the concept of inflation, which is when the price of goods and services increases. Note that the figures in this example are for illustrative purposes and do not represent realistic data. Present the example to the class by first going over the information in the Now column, including the cost of each car, how much money you have, and how many cars you could afford to purchase. The 5 years from now column shows how inflation can decrease your purchasing power. Be sure to go step by step through the example. Inflation causes the price of the car to increase from $20 to $40. Since the $40 was stored under your bed instead of in a bank, it did not earn any interest. The result will be a decrease in your purchasing power as evidenced by the fact that you will only be able to purchase 1 car, when at the beginning of the period you could afford 2 cars. Emphasize that saving money in a bank will help combat the negative effect inflation can have on your purchasing power. Section 1.3, Banks. This subsection explains the bank business model, introduces the different options people have for saving their money in a bank, and discusses the advantages that banks offer over non-bank financial institutions. Slide 17 uses an illustration to explain the bank business model. Here, the saver deposits money with the bank, which in turn pays her 2% interest. Then the bank lends out this money that was deposited and charges 6% interest on the loan. In this example, the bank nets a profit of 4%, or 6% minus 2%, by taking in deposits from savers and lending the funds out to borrowers. As an interactive example, choose one student to represent a bank, another to represent a borrower, and the rest of the class to represent savers. Make up figures for the rate banks pay to savers and charge borrowers, and try to get the students to arrive at the implied net interest margin. Reinforce to the students that banks benefit all stakeholders by allowing savers to earn interest on their money and borrowers to make large purchases like cars or houses without having all of the money up front. Slide 18 poses the following real-life situation. I have $2,000 that I want to save, but I also need this money available in case of an emergency. What are my options for achieving this goal? Some students will say that they would save this money in a bank, while others may say they would store it at home so that they could access it quickly in case of an emergency. Let the students know that there are bank accounts that provide people immediate access to their money. The point of this slide is to get students to think about the characteristics of different types of bank accounts. Make sure to reinforce that putting your money in a bank is safer than storing it elsewhere, and it also allows you to earn interest.